Well, guys, 3 episodes in, I think it's safe to say that those of us that were on the fence with Westworld, they have successfully found a way to reinvent themselves.
We got it all on UHF. Take off your sneakers.
Hey guys, it's Kevin in my review for this week's episode of Westworld Season 3, Episode 3, The Absence of Field. And right off the bat, guys, I do apologize for getting this review out so late. Motivation has not been the strongest these days, understandably. And I've had other videos to put out and things like that, and just, the whole spiel. But that being said, I hate the fact that it took me so long because I absolutely adored this episode. This, for me, was easily, I think, the strongest of the 3 we've gotten. This episode very much reminded me of kind of like some of the Season 1 episodes where it would only focus on like 1 or 2 characters and we got these very like intricate sort of character pieces. This very much kind of felt in the vein of that, but we're just getting to right now. So I think the first thing to really talk, before we get into all of the Hale stuff, which trust me, I'll get there, I want to talk about just the final scene in general because there's a lot to take in from that. There's a lot that I think this is probably going to end up being one of the most crucial scenes of the entire season. And the one thing I think the show has done an excellent job with so far that Season 2 really didn't is the way that it's been able to bring in this new character of Serac. Serac very much feels like, he's kind of been there since the beginning. It doesn't really feel like, while he is a new presence, you definitely do feel him throughout this season. He fits right in that way. And the final reveal that him and Hale have been in contact all this time before, I thought was really well done. It makes a lot of sense considering what we learn about Serac in this episode, that, he's been acquiring all this data from Westworld. He's even been stealing, like, some of their props and things like that, so he clearly has some kind of ulterior motive. I don't think it's just, let's bring Dolores down. What I think his real plan is that he wants to use the same thing that Dolores wants, or maybe he also wants a hold of Insight and just wants to bring her down so he can have it. I feel like that's kind of what's going on here because it doesn't really seem like Serac is going in a direction that is heroic in any way. I really do feel like we're building up a very menacing sort of presence here, especially the ending where basically, he wants all this guest data from Delos that Hale had promised him and attempted to smuggle. And it makes sense now why in Season 2 Hale was so adamant about this. It's not just that she herself was so into it, it's that she was working for Serac. So it does a really good job, I think, of answering some questions, which a lot of this episode did a really good job with, which I'll get into, but particularly this final reveal, there's a lot of ways to interpret what's going on here. Her talking about how she does not have the key for, like, encrypted data and things like that, and Serac knowing that the key is within the Dolores, and that's why he is so intent on going after Dolores. So there's a lot of places to go here. We know that this host Hale at least, has pledged her undying fidelity to Dolores, but she also is starting to waver a bit. So there's a lot of places this can really go, and I'm just really loving what they're doing with this Serac character so far. I think they're doing a really good job of not trying to make him like Ford. Yes, he definitely has similarities to Ford, but he very much is his own character. He has his own agenda. It's still unclear what he wants, but I feel like it has something to do with the data that Delos has basically maintained all this time. He wants to take that data that they've accrued and find a way to apply that to whatever he's working on. And I'm excited to see what that really is about. And I think that final scene definitely leads things in a very intriguing place for sure. And especially knowing he's also working with Maeve, I'm just really interested in seeing how this Hale is going to be able to keep all this up. But yeah, I thought that was very effective for sure. But with that, guys, now we're going to get into the main stuff with this episode, which let's just get into all the stuff we get with Hale, because this really was her episode. And I have to say, I know she's had 3 seasons on the show, but I'm pretty confident in saying that this is probably Tessa Thompson's finest hour yet. I mean, just what she was able to do in this episode, the way that she is playing this robotic version of Hale, but is able to make you care for Hale in a way we haven't been able to, even though this isn't actually the real Hale in that way. It's just remarkable, and Thompson is just absolutely killing it here. I've been saying it, Thompson's one of those actresses who I really feel like she's just getting better and better as she goes on within her career, and I don't think that has ever been more apparent than in this episode, and you really are seeing that here from the first scene alone when you see her and Dolores. And I like that we still don't know who is inhabiting Hale's body. I think that's a really good sort of mystery, and you know what? Normally, I'd be annoyed by that because I'm like, okay, why couldn't they just reveal it in that scene? But they've already done a really good job, I think, of moving through some of the mysteries really quickly and just really getting to the meat of the story. A lot of that because the season's only 8 episodes, and so they have to move a lot quicker, but also because, again, a lot of people have complained about that, and you can tell that this story doesn't require them to do that. So I like the fact that this is the one lingering mystery that we are still trying to ruminate on this season, and we are still trying to put together. But I will say, from the looks of this episode, I'm pretty clear in saying that this very well could be Teddy. And I know that seems like a stretch to people because, oh, Teddy went to, you know, the sanctuary and things like that, and it looked like he got what he wanted. Well, maybe, you know, he did, like his body did, but maybe his actual DNA didn't. We all know Dolores' initial plan anyway was to find a way to flee from Westworld and go to the real world with Teddy. That was her initial plan. And considering that so much of this worked out in her favor, is it really that crazy to believe that she would try to, like, you know, take his DNA and then find a way, you know, take his DNA and then find a way to copy him in that way? I feel like that's probably what's going on, especially knowing, you know, how she's like self-harming herself, and she keeps talking about how even though she is loyal to Dolores, and also there aren't really that many people that Dolores trusts that implicitly like she did with Teddy. I heard some people say that could be her father, but watch the scene of them in bed together. That is not a scene between father and daughter. There's no possible way that that's her father. I do not see them going in that direction. I really do feel like it's Teddy. And we know that Teddy felt like, you know, he had to be loyal to her. This was his narrative. He wasn't going to deviate from that. And the only way that he would do that is till his dying breath. So it makes sense that she's like, you know, cutting her arms and self-harming herself because, you know, she feels like a burden to Dolores in that way. She wants to get away from her, and so I would not be surprised if it turns out that this is Teddy. I just feel like it all just kind of tracks in that way, and maybe that's not where they're going. Maybe there's other people that I'm not thinking of, but I really am confident that this is Teddy inhabiting Hale's body, and I feel like Thompson did a lot to kind of make that seem like that was the case, and that's something I thought they did a really good job with. And that first scene alone where, you know, you see Hale realizing what she's gonna have to do, that she's gonna have to take on this identity, and that she has to live Hale's entire life, is really well done. But I also love because it really gives us a window into Hale's life that we didn't see before. Up to this point, Hale, while she's been a good character, she's basically just been your typical corporate mustache twirling villain in that way. Someone that is, you know, focused on herself. She cares about the business. You know, she's very much into that sort of thing. And we didn't really get to see a lot of what goes on behind the scenes. So I like the fact that we got a much deeper look into who Hale was as a person. The reveal that going all the way back to season 1, when she thought she was going to die, the message that she sent, because I was pretty thrown off by that at first. I was like, wait, who the fuck is Nathan? Who is this person she's talking about? So I like the reveal that that was her son, and that she left this video message to him in the event that she died. And I thought that that was a very effective scene. And then learning that she has this kind of estranged marriage with Michael Ealy's character, and, you know, these two, it's kind of like a broken relationship in that way, and that she really hasn't been there for her son because she's been so focused on, you know, Delos and things like that, and she just has not had time to provide for Nathan. And I just thought it gave a much deeper understanding of Charlotte. She's been so focused on Delos that nothing else really matters to her like her family. And this is Hale's chance to sort of repair that, to sort of make right with her family in that way. And I like the way that she's going about this, that even though she's not actually Hale, she's trying to soften the blow a bit. She's trying to make it so she can get to a better place with Nathan. She can get to a better place with her, I'm assuming, ex-husband. I got the sense that those two are divorced. I'm not sure if they're divorced, but at least the way she was talking to Nathan, it very much seemed that way, that they were divorced. So I feel like that's her initial plan right now, and I really like the way that is all going. And the scene that struck me the most, I think, and the scene that most people are probably going to talk about, is when she's actually watching the video message of Hale singing, and it all just kind of clicks together. Like, she realizes, you know, this is the same music that's been on the phone. Just the way that they revealed that, and Thompson's performance was just absolutely masterful. I love the way that was done. I thought that was such a brilliant reveal in that way, and I'm really excited to see where that's all going to go. And then the other scene, of course, is when that guy was creeping on Nathan, which, I mean, immediately you can tell this guy is a pedophile. The way he's treating him, it doesn't seem right. And that's the other scene that makes me think this could possibly be Thandie, with her talking about, like, you know, she's killed people before. You know, it reminds her of who she used to be, that predatory sort of side of her. And we know that Thandie has killed a lot of people. Hell, Dolores practically made him like a cold-blooded killer last season. So I feel like that also tracks that it could possibly be Thandie. But aside from that, I really like a lot of the interworkings that's going on as well. Everything that's going on with Delos, like I said, the way they're starting to piece together what Serac is doing, it's all really well done. And I think that this Hale, you know, is doing a really good job of keeping up appearances in that way. You know, nobody really seems to be sensing that there's something off about her, but I'm wondering, similar to how everything's going well for Dolores, how long is she going to be able to keep this up? I feel like at some point the other shoe is going to drop. At some point, someone is going to figure this out. And, you know, there are multiple moments in just this episode alone where you can tell that something's just a little bit off. The way that she's, like, cutting herself and things like that, and the way she talks, it's not the way that Hale would speak. And so while it's a good thing that she's trying to repair things with, you know, Hale's family, which I really love, and I love a lot of the stuff that's going on there, it's also a downside because eventually I think they're going to realize that this is not the same person. This is just not how she acted. You know, Hale was very cutthroat in that way. Hale was someone who was very adamant about what she wanted, and I'm interested in seeing, you know, what's really going to happen here. And we also know that this, whoever is inhabiting Hale does not like her. Keep that in mind. You know, this Hale does not like the person that she's inhabiting in that way. So again, just the fact that she's trying to fix everything, it just shows what kind of person this is. And Thandie, we know, is someone who was a very caring person. He would do anything for Dolores, but I feel like Thandie was also a man of his morals in that way, and I feel like, it just makes sense that this is Thandie, and I feel like that's really where they're heading. So again, I really love all the work they did with Charlotte in this episode. I think where Hale is going as a character is really well done. The way we got involved with her family and things like that, I really did like quite a bit. And again, the relation between her and Dolores is just really fascinating to me, because Dolores, you can tell, very much has her under her control. Like, she is really keeping her on a leash, but knowing what's going on with Serac, that could very well disrupt that. That could very well change things, and I'm interested in seeing what that really is all about. But I love the stuff we got with them this week. I thought that it was definitely the highlight of the episode for me, and I'm just really loving what they're doing with Hale. I think this probably is going to end up being her best season, and again, it's crazy how they're making this character even better when that character is technically dead, and I'm excited to see, you know, where they really do go with that. Then on the other side of things, you know, we're going to go to the Caleb and Dolores plot in this episode, which I also thought was really strong. I really liked what we got with these two here, especially, you know, the way that we dive deeper into what Caleb has gone through. We start to see a lot more of what's going on with his mother, and this is very much making up for a flaw I had in episode 1, where I really felt like that was glossed over. We had one scene where he was talking about how he was taking care of his mom, but we didn't really know how bad it was. And now in this episode, we have, I think, a better idea of what's really going on there, where his mother has very clear dementia in that way, and she keeps blacking out, and she keeps forgetting who he really is, and, you know, he wants to do what he can to try to help her, but it kind of seems like, you know, things aren't going well for her. But I also really liked the way that Dolores kind of used this as a way to, you know, recruit Caleb, because she sees the good in him. She feels like Caleb is a good asset. I think there's two things. I think, one, she does see the good in him, but I think her biggest concern is that Caleb is an asset at this point. Caleb is someone who's in a very similar position. He doesn't like all the stuff that Insight is doing, and she's well aware of that. She knows that Caleb isn't into all of that kind of stuff. So I really like the way she was able to get him on board with, you know, what she was doing here. And, you know, when he was, like, you know, being, when he was basically, you know, being held by those two associates who wanted to go after Dolores, I like that she took that opportunity to kind of take him under her wing. But I also really like the way that she did it, you know, told him about Rehoboam and things like that, and, you know, everything going on with Insight. Something as simple as just what he orders in a diner every single time, and this really throws him off. He's like, wait, how do you know this? And I like they didn't ask her how she knew this, but, like, you know, has she been spying on him and the because he knows he's on constant surveillance, and this is when he realizes everything that Insight has been doing, and he obviously doesn't like that. He doesn't like the fact that there is no privacy for him and things like that, and how Dolores knows so much about his life in that way. The read that she has on him is really interesting. How Rehoboam going as far as to predict what he's going to do 10 years from now, with them standing in that place that he's going to end up supposedly killing himself in. I just thought was such a chilling scene. Just think about that. Think about if there was this technology that was so strong and was able to, you know, understand you so well that it knew what you were going to do years from now, even years before you thought of doing it. It's just, I can't even fathom something like that happening. But I think the show's doing a really great job at just showing how dangerous this technology really is, but also why Dolores needs to get her hands on this, because this is something that she's wanted. She's wanted access to this kind of thing. We know that she wants to use this to her advantage, and again, similar to Serac, we don't actually know what her initial plan is, but we know that this is very important for her. And you know, I like that this also reveals what's going on with the Rico app, that basically because Caleb is suicidal, this is why the Rico app is giving him this job of him in this, you know, being this chauffeur to criminals of sorts, and that's why this is going on. And I thought that was definitely really strong, but also the reveal of everything going on with his mother as well, that his mother, we find out, you know, people think that she's schizophrenic in that way, and that she was a unfit mother, but he always tried to see the good in her. It's a really good storyline for this character. I really love where they are going with Caleb overall, and where things end towards the end with him now agreeing to help her. I think, again, is really strong. And I know a lot of people found the line cheesy where he talked about how Dolores is the first real thing in his life in a while, but I feel like it was necessary, because that's what we were introduced to Caleb. He wanted something tangible. You know, he didn't want this artificial intelligence that sounded like his friend that died. He just wanted his friend back. You know, he didn't want a robot to replace it. And of course, he doesn't know that Dolores is actually a host in that way. But he knows that Dolores has a mutual interest in him, and that these two can really work to maybe restore the world in that way and rebuild it. And I'm excited to see how this is all going, because we know that obviously, you know, Bernard is still trying to bring her down. So I'm wondering if Caleb's going to be the guy to maybe throw a wrench in all of that, if he's going to get in the middle of all of that, how that's all going to go down. I'm just really intrigued to see where that's all going, and I think they're doing a really great job with Caleb's character, and Aaron Paul is doing a really great job at subtly portraying just what this character has been through. You know, he's under a significant amount of stress. He is very detached from the world in that way, and I think he's just doing such a great job there. You know, I know it's you know, a lot of people I think are disappointed because this isn't a very expressive character like, say, Jesse or something like that. But Caleb's a different kind of guy. He's far more reserved, and it's because he doesn't fit into this world. He's just constantly annoyed by what's going on, but he also, you can tell, is very used to it, and he didn't think there was a way to really stop it. And now knowing that Dolores has a way to possibly restore the world to the way it was, again, I'm excited to see the way all of that does go down. But that's really everything going on story-wise in this episode. Now we'll get into the more technical stuff, which directing in this episode I thought was phenomenal. And something that was really surprising to me here is that the director of this episode, Amanda Marsalis, actually hasn't done an episode of Westworld before. This is her first episode, and it does not show at all. You know, you can really tell she understood what she was doing. The deep characterization is like classic Westworld, and I thought her directing was just really strong here. I really like the way she got us into both of these characters, but also the tight focus that she kept on it. She didn't try to deviate from that ever. She made it very clear this episode was about Hale and Caleb, and I definitely really did appreciate that here. And just the places that they were willing to go writing-wise here, I think is really strong. And again, I think, like I said, that's something that the show is really benefiting from with the smaller amount of characters, is that we have a lot more time to dive into who Hale is beyond just her, you know, trying to help out Delos. There's a lot more going on there. We have a lot more time to establish what Caleb has gone through, and that's something that I really did appreciate for sure. I think they're doing a really good job of getting us into these two characters, one that we knew but are expanding on, then another one that is new and the show's doing a really good job with moving forward. But again, they're also doing a really good job with just showing how Dolores and Serac are really pulling the strings here. You know, it felt like for a while this was Bernard versus Dolores, but I really feel like at the end of the day, it's Serac versus Dolores, because Serac is the one who wants to obtain the same stuff that Dolores wants, and I really think that's his main mission here. I don't think his mission is that, oh, Dolores is going too far, I need to bring her down. I think that's what Bernard wants to do. I feel like Serac's agenda is far different in that way, and I'm excited to see what that really is all about. And I think the show is doing a really good job with that. What they've chosen to reveal and what not, they've done a spectacular job with so far this season. You know, with them not revealing yet who is inhabiting Hale, but also not revealing what Dolores and Serac's central plan really is. We don't really know what's actually going on there, and I'm excited to see what that really is all about. But like I said, I do think it's pretty clear that Teddy is inside Hale. I think that's what's going on. We know Dolores has that printer. I think it would not be that much of a stretch to think she maybe took his DNA and tried to put that inside of Hale. I would not be surprised if that's what's going on, but I guess we'll just have to see. Again, I could be completely wrong about that, and there's a good chance I am, because there's been many times that I have been completely incorrect about this show, and I feel like there's a very good chance that that could end up happening here. I'm staying off Reddit. I'm not looking at theories and things like that. This is just something that I thought of, and it just so happens that other people agree with me. So that's cool. That's cool. I know it's like a popular theory right now, but it's one that I very much do agree with, and I think there's a very good chance that that is what's going on here. And like I said, I thought the writing was just really strong in this episode, but the cinematography as well was just absolutely beautiful as usual. The way they're getting us into the real world and things like that, I think is really well done. This was really the first episode where there wasn't any of Westworld whatsoever. You know, at least in the first episode we saw a little bit of it, but this episode it was just all in the real world, and it's just doing a really good job of showing what they're able to do location-wise this season. There's so many more places they can go, and I just really did love that here. And again, just certain shots in this episode, like Hale looking at her past self, I think was really effective, or Caleb, you know, being haunted of memories of him in this diner, and him and his mother, and his mother, you know, him being told that his mother, like, left when he didn't believe that. Things like that I just thought were really effective in terms of cinematography here, and the score as well is always on point in this show. And the way You Are My Sunshine was kind of like a recurring motif for Hale, where she heard it constantly, didn't understand the significance of it, and then finally she did realize what was going on, and now is kind of trying to repair that relationship in a way. I just thought was really effective, and I really like the way that was handled here. And then the way this episode was edited was really well done. I like the focus that we got on both Hale and Caleb, and I think they did a really good job with that overall. And, you know, if I had to, one of my complaints last season is that I think some episodes went on way too long. This season is not really the case. They're doing a really good job at knowing what to focus on and not trying to overstuff these episodes with everything, and I think that's something that I'm just really impressed by this season. So overall, guys, I was a pretty big fan of this episode. This is definitely the best episode of this season so far for me. The focus we got on Hale and Caleb, I just thought was really strong. I love the development we're getting there, but also the way they're keeping up these lingering mysteries, I think, is really strong as well. And there's still a lot of stuff we haven't seen. Like, we're just now gonna finally see William in the next episode. We don't know what he's been up to all this time. And no, I do not believe that William is inside Hale. That'd be stupid. It wouldn't make any sense whatsoever, and that would really, really be a stretch. I know some people think Teddy's a stretch, but that would be way more of a stretch than it being Teddy. I do not see that happening at all, and I do not think that's where they're headed. I think there is definitely something going on with him, but it's not that. I don't think that's what it is at all. And I'm excited to see what that is really all about. But like I said, just the way the show is slowly revealing things this season, I think is really well done. I'm very confident that, you know, the show is doing a really great job in finding ways to still further itself, still finding creative ways to tell its story. And that's something this season is just doing an excellent job with. I am officially on board. I mean, I've been on board since the first episode, but this episode, I'm locked in. I'm very much locked in. I have blind faith in what they're doing from here on out this season. I really don't have any doubt in my mind that we're going to get something great here, that this is really going to lead up to something really epic for sure, and I'm excited to see how that all does really play out. But overall, guys, I absolutely adored this episode, so I'm definitely going to give this episode of Westworld, Season 3, Episode 3, The Absence of Field, overall in A. But overall, guys, to my review this episode of Westworld, the most guys saw this episode overall, lift your thoughts on it. Like I said, guys, I apologize for the fact this review is late. It's probably not going to happen again. I've just been busy this week, and I haven't had time to do it till now, whatever. But that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you guys in my next video, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.